Does a long list of intentions diminish the efficacy of our prayer? And how can I recite the prayers of the Rosary while meditating on the mysteries? To learn more, stick around. Hello, my name is Father Ambrose Little, and I teach philosophy at the Dominican House of Studies. Welcome to Aquinas 101, Ask a Friar, the series where I do my best to answer your big questions about philosophy, theology, and more. One of our viewers asked, "When I pray the Rosary, my list of intentions keeps growing. Does it diminish or dilute the efficacy of the prayer if I have so many? And I find it impossible to focus on the words of the Hail Mary, trying to meditate on the mysteries of the Rosary. How can I do this better, that will be more pleasing to Our Lady?" These are important questions, and I will give a little answer. First, let's consider the question about prayer intentions from a couple of different angles. One could ask, does the multiplication of prayer intentions limit God's ability to answer our prayers? No. God's grace and power is infinite and immeasurably beyond our capacity to understand. No matter how many things we ask of God, He can always supply for our needs. What is more, His patience, kindness, and generosity can never be exhausted. What this means is that we can ask Him for any number of favors without fear. As the Book of Lamentations says, quote, "The favors of the Lord are not exhausted. His mercies are not spent. They are renewed each morning. So great is His faithfulness." So we can never ask too much of God. But we may also wonder, does a large number of petitions affect the quality of our prayer? Well, let's think about why we pray in the first place. St. Thomas says that, quote, "God bestows many things on us out of His liberality, even without our asking. But that He wishes to bestow certain things on us at our asking is for the sake of our good, namely, that we may acquire confidence in having recourse to God, and that we may recognize in Him the author of all our goods." End quote. I think the key point from this quote is that God encourages us to ask Him for help so that we build confidence in His paternal care over us and build a relationship with Him. If He just gave us good things without our asking, we would treat God like a divine vending machine. But by having recourse to Him and learning to ask Him for help allows us to build a real relationship with Him and teaches us to trust that God has our true good in mind. Therefore, the more we ask of Him, the more we learn to depend upon Him, and the more we love Him. How does this teaching about prayer relate to the multiplication of petitions? When we come to God with many petitions, if we do so with the confidence that He knows the true good of the people we are praying for better than ourselves, then we should never fear that we have too many things we are asking for. So when you have a long list of petitions, recognize that your requests are implicitly an act of trust in the lavish generosity of the Lord. Moving on to the question about the Rosary. How can we be attentive both to the words we pray and the mysteries associated with each of the decades? This question has bothered many. Let me begin with a quote from St. Thomas about attention in prayer. He writes, quote, "There are three kinds of attention that can be brought to vocal prayer. One which attends to the words, lest we say them wrong, another which attends to the sense of the words, and a third which attend to the end of prayer, namely God, and to the thing we are praying for. That last kind of attention is most necessary. Moreover, this attention whereby the mind is fixed on God is sometimes so strong that the mind forgets all other things, as Hugh of St. Victor states." End quote. Now, I suspect that the experience described in the quote he attributes to Hugh of St. Victor is likely something St. Thomas knew from experience. Regardless, I think the fact that we have different kinds of attention listed here is helpful. Our minds easily wander, after all, and that is a result of the effects of original sin. The thing about the Most Holy Rosary is that it gives us ample ways to be attentive, even when our minds wander. If all is going well, then our attention in this prayer is directed straight at God. But when our mind tends to wander, we can bring it back to the task at hand either through attention to the mystery or attention to the words we are saying. But how can we do this well? There may be many ways, but here are a few methods I have found helpful. First, You may try alternating your focus back and forth, sometimes reflecting on the mystery, and at other times on the words of the Hail Mary. This may assist your mind in staying focused on God by shifting your attention at opportune moments. Another option is to begin or end each decade with a moment of silence to reflect on the mystery, and then focus on the words of the Hail Mary as you recite them. That way you have different moments where you can be attentive to different parts of the Rosary. A third option is to incorporate your recitation of the prayers into your meditation on the mystery. For example, you can imagine Mary in the scene of the Annunciation and direct the words of your prayer to her as you take in the scene as a whole. That way the words of the prayer become part of the meditation through the power of your imagination. These are only little suggestions. There are plenty of books that approach this topic as well, and I encourage you to look out for them. But know that even if your mind wanders, God is pleased that you are with him, so do not be afraid. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask a Friar. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, may God bless you and keep you in his grace. I hope that answers all your questions, but if not, please let us know by submitting more using #AskAFriar in the YouTube comments and on social media. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends, because it matters what you think.